Yeah, we just finished the Berlin Marathon. So I ran a race with 18,000 people and 20 Kenyans. As expected, the Kenyans did very well. They finished in most of the top 10 positions. I think I passed about 3 of them in the second half though, so I'm pretty happy with that. The Kenyans were very strong right from the start, and one way to measure yourself in these races is just to see how many of the Kenyans you can stay with, and then maybe hope to pass a few of them at the end. They're always very strong, and now we're off to Kenya, and I can't wait to see some of the secrets of their training and hopefully learn a few things and improve some more. I've been running for a long time, and probably when I was in high school was when I first heard about the great Kip Keino. And of course I heard most prominently about him winning the 1500 meters at the Mexico City Olympics in 1968. He's almost single-handedly started the African running boom.
29-year-old Kipchoge Keino went to the Mexico City Olympics in 1968 with high hopes. No one from Kenya had ever won an Olympic gold medal. Keino was determined to defeat the heavily favored Americans and Europeans and prove that the world's best runner was a Kenyan. But he soon discovered after arriving in Mexico that he had yet another obstacle to overcome.
Before we went to Mexico, we were training in Yaururu, about 8,000 feet above the sea level. When we were doing training, sometime I was not feeling well, but I reported to a doctor. He said, probably you have done a lot of work and you need to rest. So when we reached Mexico, I had a lot of problems.
Kip Keino woke up on the morning of the 1500 meters final with a severe stomach ache. He could barely get out of bed, and the doctor came and checked him out and said, "You should not be running. You have a severe gallbladder infection. You could do some serious damage. Plus, it's going to be too painful for you to run." So he ordered Kip to stay in bed.
After the semi-final, I was sick, and they told me not to run. I said, "Please, you take me home at 8, man." I told the coach. And when they came very early in the morning, when the day of the final, and checked me and says, you sleep and don't do anything else. But I told the coach not to remove my name.
So Kip couldn't stand the thought of just sitting in bed while the others ran the race. So he popped out of the bed, hopped on a bus, and the bus got stuck in traffic eventually. He had to get off the bus and run as fast as he could to the stadium.
Reaching there, they were calling, fast call for 1500 meters. So I went and reported. And then after that, I went and rest.
He was already probably exhausted from running the 10,000 meters and the 5,000 meters, 2 grueling other events that none of his competitors had run already. And he was racing against some of the best runners in the world, including the world record holder, Jim Ryan.
I had a lot of responsibilities. I was a captain of the team. And when you are a captain of the team and black bearer, you cannot come home empty-handed. This is where I had in mind. I should come home with a gold medal. And I had to fight for that.
So the gun goes off, and he's running this race. All of a sudden, he takes off on, I believe, the 3rd lap, and he just leaves everybody in the dust.
3rd lap, I was ahead of it. I tried to open. The last one, I was 30 meters ahead of everyone. And I win with 20 meters ahead. So I won a gold, and I celebrate, but I was not feeling well. Life was challenging, but I enjoyed it.
Eldoret is a rapidly growing city of over 200,000 people. It sits just a few miles from the equator on the western rim of Kenya's Great Rift Valley. region's high altitude and mild year-round climate has spawned countless world record holders and Olympic champion runners like Kano.
Kip Keno has been a hero of mine for many years, since I was in high school probably, when I heard about his running exploits. And never in my wildest dreams had I ever thought I would ever meet this man, never mind become good friends with him and work with him on such amazing projects. But a couple of years back, I was awarded a journalism fellowship, and this fellowship allows Canadian journalists to go to Africa and report on anything that they want. And I had looked at the stories that were produced in previous years, and they were all about AIDS and malaria and famine and war, and those stories are very necessary and they're very real in Africa, and those are things that need to be addressed. But I think it's equally important for journalists to shine a light on the good things that are happening in places.
Kipchoge was a world figure in the late 60s and early 70s. Mainly because of his great performance in Mexico and in Munich. And Kip, of course, would be considered the founding father of Kenyan athletics in terms of success. There were other athletes before him, but not anywhere near with the same image or the same recognition among young people. So when I came, more or less, everybody wanted to be a Kipchoge Kano. That was their aim in life.
The Kenyan runners are the best. There is no debate about that. Kenyan runners, since the time of Kip Keno in the late 60s, have been dominant all over the world. In the Olympics, in the Boston Marathon, in track races from the mile and up, they have been the best runners in the world. So of course, running against the Kenyans for all these years, the biggest question that pops into my head is, why are these guys so fast?
I think it all begins with the culture and the kind of life that people grow through. Because with life here, I think the conditioning starts a bit early because of the way of life.
So I used to go to school like 10 kilometers away from my home. And every morning, in the evening, so like I was covering 20 kilometers a day. And then also it's like I was doing training without knowing. But it's all at the children that they normally do like this because we don't have transportation.
They eat a very, very healthy diet. They eat the staple food is called ugali. It's a cornmeal mash type of food. I call it rocket fuel. It's pure, healthy carbohydrate. So there's the diet. There is the fact that they live at a good altitude. Many of them live at 2,000 or 3,000 meters above sea level at the top of the Rift Valley, which is incredibly important because it trains the lungs to transport oxygen better.
Many of the kids have a fairly tough upbringing. They don't have any luxuries. They run to school. They live a very disciplined life. Their lifestyle is, very demanding, with the result that when it comes to training them, you're already dealing with a very disciplined group. There are role models, be it Kipchoge Kano or Ezekiel Kemboi or Moses Kiptanui or Sally Barsosi or Tekla Rupe, Lorna Kip Leggett. They have great models to look up to. Motivation, since the sport has become professional, commercialization now, it's a way for them to make a comfortable living.
One of those athletes is Stanley Kaplan Moe. Stanley was raised in a mud hut in a tiny village near Eldoret, with no electricity, no running water, and at times very little to eat.
So I decided that even though I'm the last one, I'll make sure that I'll work hard, I'll run very fast, and then I'll get some money, and then I'll finance them to live a better life.
Stanley is now attending university in Texas on a running scholarship.
The importance of running to me is not because of to get a physical fitness, but the importance, actually the main thing, is to run and go outside there, bring money, help the poor people nearby, help my family. So the main thing actually for me to run is to help these people. So I can say Kipchoge actually is a very helpful person. May God bless Kipchoge because it is a generous person.
Since Kip Keino brought his money home, people can see that you can make money if you're very successful in running. And in a country like Kenya, that can be very important. If you can make $1,000, maybe you get 10th or 12th place in the Berlin Marathon, make $1,000 or $2,000, you can buy a farm for 2 or 3 families in your community. And that'll set you up for life.
But what a lot of people tend to overlook is the training the athletes do. Kenyans train incredibly hard.
You prepare in the training ground so that when you get to the racing ground, you're just ready for the action. In some areas, there's certain activities that only go for the major muscles. And that will not give you a total fitness, because when you have fit, heavy muscles ready, then if they get tired in a race or in an activity, they always come down. They come down to get the reinforcement from the weaker muscles. And if the weaker muscles are not conditioned, then you're not going to pick up. So you'll need to go about different approaches so that you can touch every muscle, or the tweets, the slow, the quick, the heavy, the light, to make this person a time bomb. No.
And Kip also ran quite a lot of races locally, maybe unlike the professionals of today. You know, they run most of their races in the Grand Prix circuit in Europe. There wasn't any big Grand Prix circuit at that time. So Kip ran local races. Every little local stadium around here, Kip ran when he was Olympic champion. And he would run against school kids, he'd run against upcoming athletes. So they were able to not just imagine challenging him, but they were actually able to go out on the track and compete against him. You have 2 stadiums called after Kipchoge. You have one in Kapsabet and one in Eldoret. You know, to show how honoured he was in the area. And I think that's what really promoted athletics, the fact that Kip was not afraid to put his reputation on the line locally, and encourage people. He went around to schools. He began his orphanage, of course, which also gave a new dimension to his sporting career. You know, it wasn't only just the promotion of athletics or sports as such. It was, humanity. It was humanitarian. It was to do something for his local people, to use that image to try and enhance the cause of needy people, voiceless people.
After Kip Keino won his Olympic gold medals in '68 and 1972, he spawned a running revolution, but more importantly, I think he spawned a humanitarian and social revolution in Kenya. He used the money that he had earned on the international running circuit and spent large amounts of his own money to build schools and children's homes and all kinds of other projects around Kenya.
Education is the most important. If you have knowledge, you can be able to fit anywhere in our society. And you can be self-sufficient, you can do anything for yourself. We built this school through charity from individual people from other part of the world. And also they have given us books, you see computers, all these other science and so forth. So we are building future leaders in this country, in this school. The assistance they have given us is very important. The school itself will look a beautiful school, and we are very proud for the Canadian people. We will feel that the assistance you give us will go to the most needed things for education of our children in this part of the world.
Kenya is an ethnically diverse country. Since independence in 1963, Kenya has maintained its stability despite changes in its political system and crises in neighboring countries. Since the reemergence of democracy, Kenyans have enjoyed more and more freedom. Yet over the past 30 years, poverty has been on the rise in Kenya. This seems to be a paradox in a country that has one of the best developed economies in Eastern Africa, with relatively advanced agricultural and industrial sectors, as well as earnings from agricultural exports and tourism. But Kenya is a low-income country, with an average per capita income of under $400 per year.
That's another little house.
It is going to be a dome there,
Yes.
and it's going to be a dome there.
Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is incredible.
Another dormitory there and another dormitory there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Today, Kano remains the country's most prominent role model. But it's not just because of his gold medals. Yes, Kano sparked the Kenyan running revolution, but he has used his wealth and fame to ignite a humanitarian revolution as well. The projects created by Kano and his wife Phyllis have improved the lives of hundreds of Kenyan children. For the past 30 years, they have raised hundreds of orphans, built an elementary school, and supported the careers of talented runners from Kenya and other African countries.
I started caring for the children. I think I developed it even more because I was a nurse and I worked mainly in the children's wards, and I sort of liked it. And where I worked before is where there was a lot of need for the children.
And one day when we were out, we saw some children, they didn't have any clothes and they didn't have anything to eat. So I asked the chief of the area, can we assist these children, give them something to eat? He said, yes, you can take them. So we brought 2 children. My wife was there, so they would take care of the 2 children.
Their situation was, they were hungry and they were looking for jobs and they were so small, and I decided to just have them in my house.
In 1973, we came up here. We had twin children, which was abandoned in the hospital, so we brought also those 2. Then we had other. By the end of the 73, we had 13 children in this home.
The children that I've raised over the years is of 150. And the reason is some of them would come temporarily and leave because the children's department, they deal with children's problems.
As you find the situation today, we have a lot of problems in the country. We have people who are dying in various diseases. Some girls in the school, they get unwanted pregnancy and they draw away their children. So we get children from the hospital, from the police, from the children department. Sometimes we say we don't have room. That's the problem. You saw the young one the other time. Those are the cases which happen in this country.
There's 9 Sudanese boys that we have here. Basically, they all came out of southern Sudan. They had a pretty rough upbringing, moving around with the Civil War and everything. Most of them have been in the war itself, fighting as child soldiers. And when the boys came, they knew absolutely no English and no Swahili. So they were coming really raw. They spent 1 year at a local school, and they were able to improve their marks, and now they're speaking fluent English, fluent Kiswahili, and now we have them in a private school, which is going to give them a great opportunity at high school, and if high school works out, they have the option of going to university.
One of the key elements to the success of the Kano School and Children's Home is the Baraka Farm operation. Established by Phyllis Kano in the early 1990s on a barren, overgrazed piece of land, Yoss Creamers accepted the challenge of building a model dairy farm and market garden.
My dream was, childhood dream was to become a farmer myself, or to farm myself one day. Arriving here, I decided I wanted to give it a try and see how far I could bring this barren land that I was given 14 years ago, and see how far we could get with farming here in Kenya.
When I got this farm, I started, putting cows, little cows, and it continues. And the former owners, they helped me with the volunteers, and of course the farm is serving the children. We have at least, even if we don't have money, at least we have food. Whatever is being done here is for the children, nothing else. We don't make any profit. It's just for the children.
When I arrived 14 years ago, we were working on this farm probably with 10 people. And our production level was in a year, on a yearly basis, we were producing maybe 50 or 40,000 liters of milk in a year. At the moment we are employing over 70 people. Our milk production has gone towards 400,000 liters of milk. So apart from thinking of the children only and growing food for them and generating income for them, we are also creating employment in this area, which is important because it was a very poor area. So I think in a very wide sense we are trying to do something for the community.
After spending some time in Kenya, I saw all the things that Kip Kino had done. He had a children's home for the young children. He had an elementary school, but the one thing he didn't have for these kids was a high school. That was his next goal. So after I got home from my first trip to Kenya, I wrote a series of articles about these amazing things I had seen. I wrote about the runners, but I also wrote about these projects that Kip Kino and the others had started. And it provoked a wave of response from people across Saskatchewan. I got emails and letters and people stopping me on the street to ask about it. And eventually unsolicited donations started popping in. From kids that held little bake sales, to service clubs, to people making anonymous donations for as much as $15,000. It was like nothing I had ever expected or nothing I had ever seen from any article that I'd written before. And it just snowballed to the point where we've raised tens of thousands of dollars, and this high school is going to become a reality in very short order.
Yeah, this is Kipkeino High School, one of the schools that is going to be a very good school in this country, as we think, because when the school will be ready, the facilities that we will have here perhaps will be second to none. The Canadians have agreed to give us the furniture which will be used in the classrooms, and the furniture which will be used in the laboratories. Even behind me as I'm sitting, you can see a lot of timber here that has been bought in preparation with the strength of the contribution given by the Canadians. So all in all the furnishing from Canada is going to help the school a lot and take the school from zero to somewhere. The students, all of them will do computers. We intend to have a very good library, and the students will have plenty of books to read. We intend to have a music room where students can do theory and practical of music in this school. We will also offer German. One class will do German as a language. The other class will do French as a language. This is besides Kiswahili and English, which are compulsory. The others will be optional subjects. So we want to offer so many subjects for the students in this school so that by the time the student graduates from here, that student should be very marketable for this country. It is important to have a nice school for the children in this place so that Kenya as a country will benefit from the developed child, because human resources is better than just infrastructure in the country.
During my time in Kenya, obviously I got to know Kipkeino quite well, but I also got to know his son Martin really well. We became close friends really quickly, and he's one of the best runners in the world in his own right. And Martin and I got talking, and we said that we should continue things, and we had the whole high school project in mind, but we didn't really know how to continue it. So Martin came to Saskatoon to run the Saskatchewan Marathon.
I think it was important to come and meet the people of Saskatoon and sort of put a face to the project we're trying to do, the work we're trying to do back home. And of course, to run the half marathon and be a part of the whole experience here. High schools in Kenya are very limited, and so offering a high school education for the numerous students who need it is very important to us, because it guarantees future jobs for them and entry to university level. So it's very important for us to help our children, because it will help alleviate poverty in our country, by getting them an education and helping them fend for themselves in the future.
We're very, very proud of the job you did to try and help some of those children who live in Martin's country of Kenya by bringing donations so that they can build a high school. So on behalf of the entire student body here in our community, Martin, we'd like to present you with $792 collected from our staff and students.
We take our education very seriously, so this project is very important to us and to the children of our community in Eldoret. So I want them to know they're doing a very good thing for us.
Yeah, he was like a rock star when he came here. He was the guy. And when we finally ran the race at the end of the week, we had one of the largest crowds that I've ever seen. He spent a solid week speaking in over a dozen schools, doing constant media work, talking to service clubs. We raised a lot of money, for the school. Martin had a great time seeing a very new and different place, and the people of Saskatchewan got to experience this amazing runner and this wonderful person.
This week has been tremendous. I've met so many wonderful people, really supportive people. I didn't think the reception would be this big. I mean, you know, meeting with the students in different schools, that was fantastic. You know, they were so excited. You know, the enthusiasm shown by the kids was just was something I'll not forget too. And you know, sort of the knowledge they have about Kenya too impressed me.
Kip Keino High School will educate children from 9th to 12th grade, and there'll be a couple of hundred children attending every year, and they'll provide high quality education to these kids. There'll be a lot of unique components to this place. For example, they're going to have a scholarship program for young girls that are promising runners to help them along their way. They'll also have some programs for the male runners as well. But this is going to be a really state-of-the-art facility that's going to train their minds and their bodies to be some of the leaders in all different fields across Kenya. And that's because Kip Keino inspired people in a place like Saskatchewan.
And the giving didn't stop there. Hundreds of pairs of new and used running shoes are now on the feet of up-and-coming Kenyan athletes.
Well, I'm involved with a running group, and when I heard Jason was going, I put it out to my running group that, hey, Jason wants to bring some running shoes over to Kenya. Well, people brought in 2 or 3 or 4 pairs of shoes. They went through their closets. They found their old track spikes, their old racing flats, their old training shoes that they weren't using, and they brought them to me. People in Saskatoon got really excited about the idea of their shoes coming into Kenya and helping these potential world champions, potential Olympic champions with their careers.
While Kip Keino's influence on running has spanned the globe, it has had the greatest impact among his own people.
Whether he was building an orphanage with his wife, or a school, or a running camp for young athletes, or creating all kinds of businesses like farms, tea farms, dairy farms, a sporting goods store, creating jobs and helping so many people. And that inspired other successful Kenyan runners to come home to their home communities, spend their own money, in some cases all of their own money, to help their community. It's had such a big multiplier effect. And now it's almost the norm for a Kenyan athlete when they go out into the world and make some money, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million, they come home and they do good things in their community with that money. It's the expectation, which is in stark contrast to North America.
Even though our more established athletes in Kenya are seen as role models, they are still seen very much as part of the community, with responsibilities and with a role to play within their individual communities. And I think very often, maybe in the Western world, when somebody becomes successful, makes a career and becomes well known in a sport, rather than the community embracing them as one of their own, they tend to isolate them and put them on a pedestal, with the result that the athlete very often gets isolated from maybe the day-to-day workings of their community. Whereas in Kenya, they tend to absorb them back into the community. We don't have so much hero worship among Kenyan athletes, which tends to be there in the West. You can meet Paul Tergat, Moses Kiptanui, Kipchoge Keino on the streets of Eldoret. Nobody takes any notice of them, in a sense. You know, they're just one of the people, they just pass by. They're a friend, they're an equal, and they never want to be treated different in a sense and special. And I think because of that, They tend to work closer to the needs of the community.
No matter how successful they become, no matter how much they travel the world, no matter how much money they make, they are always a part of that community. So you have athletes like Tegla Lerupe, the first African woman to win the New York City Marathon, world record holder later on. She came home with all of her winnings, and the first thing she did was build a school. Later on, she spent tons of her own money on AIDS education. She now organizes a huge peace run that is helping to create all kinds of great partnerships and peace in the region. You have a person like Lorna Kip Leggett, who is another world record holder at the 5K and in other events as well. She came home with her winnings and used it to build a state-of-the-art training camp for young girls.
The idea to build up the camp came up in 96 and before already. When I started to win some big races, and at that time there was a need for a women's training camp because there was none here in Kenya and none in the neighborhood. And what I all got was through sports, and I wanted to do something back to the sport, and the best thing was to build up the women's camp because it was necessary.
Yeah, she does a lot for, especially for the girls. I mean, yeah, we don't get really a lot of chances as ladies. Like at home, we are the people who are doing a job. The boys are just sitting at home, and and we do a lot. And I think building the camp for the ladies, it promotes the girls, and they learn to be more self-dependent, not just depending on other people. And with Lorna, she teaches us also, like, you must be dependent, and you have to, like with running, also mental teaching, and she's a great example to us also.
The girls who are training here now in this camp are still in high school, so we bring them when they are still in primary school. And when they go to high school, for the families who are not able to support their kids, then we find a way to raise some money so that we can pay their school fees with. And that's one of the things that we are doing. Nowadays it's changing, of course. Things have changed. Before, they didn't believe that women can also make a career in running. But since a lot of them have been showing a lot of potential and winning races and making a career, then the minds of people are changing slowly.
Other runners at the training center want to champion various causes, such as AIDS prevention or the fight to end female genital mutilation. The runners want to better the situations in their communities.
The money I'm going to get through running or through any source, really I'm going to assist the unfortunate kids especially in my community or in my surrounding, because I have very unfortunate kids who really needs assistance, especially in the side of education. And also another thing, if I get money, is to campaign against some tradition which we are really deep on it, which are also dragging our tribe, the Maasai tribe, backwards, especially women's circumcision, forced marriages, people are not going to school. So I can also, if I get money, I can fund some project like those ones.
I've been to Kenya 3 times now, and I've stayed with Kip Kino each time, and I'm always struck by his generosity, but also by his humility. When we drive past the stadium named after him, or drive down streets that are named after him, or past his sporting goods store, he never brags about these things or points these things out. He's never told me about the fact, for example, that his face is going to be on a stamp, and they're considering putting him on the country's currency, the first non-president to be honored in that way.
So it's pretty amazing to be with a guy like that. He's got royalty and dignitaries and politicians from all over the world coming and having dinner at his place, or he's going there jet-setting here and there, but you'll never hear him brag about speaking with the head of the International Olympic Committee or talking to the president of this or that country. It's pretty neat to talk to someone like that who spends the same time and gives the same enthusiasm to a beggar on the street as he does to the president of another country. So he's been an inspiration to me, not only because of the things he's done on the track now, but by all of the things that he's done for his people in Kenya, whether it's runners or orphans or the everyday person that he's given a job to. It's just been amazing to see the kinds of things that he's done with his life.
Of course we have our struggles in Africa, but there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of good things coming out of Kenya and in Africa. And there's a lot of people working to make things better for themselves in Kenya. And that's something we want to show to the rest of the world, that despite our setbacks, we do have a lot of hope and hope for the future, for our children and for our country.
Kip and Phyllis Kano continue their humanitarian works. Kip is still building the athletic system in Kenya, and they both carry on their work of bettering the lives of many Kenyans.
Whatever is being done here is for the children, nothing else.
When these children have education, they have knowledge, they have future of their life.